Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unskilled Commander Possibilities. So, with these three legendary creatures, we have Lightpaws Emperor's Voice, Donal Herald of Wings, and Ross Nakth Hair of Ranga. Sounds like a Klingon, just a bunch of Klingon sentences. I don't even know. All right, but let's start at the left to right. Lightpaws Emperor's Voice is a 2-drop for 2 for 2, basically. Power and toughness of 2, and it costs 1 colorless and 1 white, which means this is going to be a pure white command. This would be a pure white deck, and as we've discussed before, that is tricky because white isn't the best in terms of ramp in any sense. You have to have some really specific cards in there, like, land tax, which is kind of pricey, and a bunch of other ones that are, and it's limited. You're not going to be able to ramp hard. You need to toss in a bunch of artifacts as well. So it can be a tricky monocolor to play. However, a 2-drop commander is always good, and 2/2 for 2 is not bad, honestly. So the ability is whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for another aura card with mana value less than or equal to it, and with a different name than each aura you control, and put that onto the battlefield attached to Lightpaws. Then you shuffle your library. Now, clearly, this is going to be... honestly, this would be like my Kemba deck. This would be, instead of equipments, though, this would be all auras, and it would be probably focused on commander damage. So what you want to do is, I would load it up with all kinds of, the best white auras I could find. Anything that is going to get Lightpaws either flying or unblockable, double strike, a bunch of buff spells, anything that's going to make it, close to, you kind of want at least 11 power and toughness, because that's only 2 hits to kill for commander damage, right? Or 11 and double strike would be even better. The point is, you play an aura from your hand, idealistically something mid-range in terms of all the aura mana values you have, so something like, 4 maybe, and then 3 or 4 mana value. Then you look, as long as you cast it from your hand, you look through your library, you get an aura that costs a little bit less. Because it's commander, they're all going to have different names, so you don't even have to worry about that aspect. And you immediately attach the aura that you went and got onto Lightpaws, and then hopefully you have enough mana to equip the aura that you cast that triggered it in the first place. Something that's nice about that, or this card rather, as you'll see opposed to some of the other ones here, is that you can keep doing it. So you could theoretically cast, a decent aura, go get a lesser one, immediately equip it, cast a different aura, go look for one that's lesser, equip it, and maybe you don't have the mana to actually attach the equipment auras in the first place, but although I think, I might be I'm misunderstanding that, because aura enchantments, you enchant the creature, it's not an equip cost, so that's completely unimportant. So stupid me, sorry. So yeah, you just cast the aura onto Lightpaws and also get another aura automatically. So you're able to, if you can get some decent ramp in there, like I said, you're getting Lightpaws buffed up in a bunch of different ways pretty quick. And again, now I don't really see any other necessarily ways to do it. That's really all I can see. It'd still be fun, though. I wouldn't necessarily build this because I have Kemba, and it's such a close build in terms of, first of all, they're both white, so they would really be close. And yes, it's auras and not equipments, but it's still based on, you're going for commander damage. And then you're going to want some sort of, with white, I would definitely toss in a Ghostly Prison and Norn Zandex as Pillow Fortin, while you can try to get Lightpaws beefed up to the necessary levels, and of course some good solid creatures to give protection on that level as well. For the next one here, Donal Herald of Wings, it's a 3/3 that costs 4, so it's from what I feel like you want the numbers to match. If it's a 3/3, 3-drop, cost is good. 4/4, 4-drop is, etc. But when it starts to get higher than the actual power and toughness, that's when you need the text to be important enough to counterbalance it. So this, I don't know, it just still seems like a fun one. So I'm not necessarily sure he's great, but whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell that has flying, you may copy it, except the copy is a 1/1 spirit in addition to its other types. Do this only once each turn. So this, in a counterbalance to the first one, you can only use this ability once a turn. So you're not going to be able to dump out a bunch of cheapy flyers and make an entire army of 1/1 spirits, unfortunately, which would be what you would want. However, since it copies it, it makes it a 1/1 spirit, but it's still a copy of, the copy becomes a token. So that means if you play, flyers that have good effects, the spirit tokens should have those effects as well, I believe. So if you can have this is a whatever flyer that has double strikes or lifelink or whatever, now you've got a 1/1 spirit that, also has lifelink maybe or whatever the other effects are. So, and again, you're not going to be able to make a massive army out of nowhere on one turn, unless there's some sort of trick to it that I obviously don't know. I'm not even sure if bouncing it would help, because it literally says do this once each turn. So I'm not sure how you could get around that. Other than, of course, you're going to want, if in blue or artifact you can have anything that doubles tokens or increases tokens that come in, then you can go get a little mileage out of it. So it's like, okay, I play, what is it called? It's like Cloud Streaker, Cloud Seeker, or whatever. It's like a 2/1 flyer, but when it comes in, you draw a card. So it's a nice little additional when it comes in. It's only like 3 mana, I think. You play that, you make a 1/1 spirit, and then maybe if you have some sort of doubling ability in there, now you have 2 1/1 spirits. Okay, cool. So, it's not really something that's gonna be your win con, I don't think. But it's certainly not something you would want to throw away, because obviously I would make all the creatures flying, just because you want that effect at least once, well, only once per turn, but you want to make sure you trigger it. And of course, ramp as best you can in mono blue, but again, it's not the best. I mean, any mono color other than green really is tricky to ramp, as far as I'm concerned. Others may feel differently, but the way I know the cards, and I have very limited knowledge of all the Magic cards, so I'm based on what I've seen, there's not a lot of ramp other than just green, obviously. And then finally, we have Rosnak, blah, blah, blah. It's like Rograth, only different. It's the same family line, I believe, in the lore or whatever. So it is a 0/1 for 1. So right off the bat, it doesn't even have a power. It has Battle Cry, which, regrettably, I don't know what Battle Cry does. Unfortunately, I hate when they don't have the explanation on the keywords, and I can't look it up the second, and I didn't look ahead of it, fortunately. I think it's something to do where it gives a buff on attack, I think. But it has Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets her, you create a 0/1 red Kobold creature token named Kobolds of Kier Keep. So the point is, you're going to want to cast a bunch of spells on her, thereby making a whole bunch of little 0 red kobolds, and you're going to want a lot of buff spells, like ideally static buff spells. So creatures that give buffs to other creatures are probably your best bet in red. I don't even know. I assume there's got to be some sort of anthem, like Gaia's Anthem or Glorious Anthem, only for red. But that's just one card out of 99 that would give you a +1/+1 buff on a static, enchantment. Again, another mono-color, mono-red, so again, not the best in, ramping up, so you got to really work around that and do your best with enchantments and stuff, or artifacts, rather. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, because I wouldn't want to go just this is another commander damage one. I mean, that's certainly a main way you could do it. Tons of buff spells, either permanent or just instant sorceries, that target Rosnak, whatever is how you say it, pump out a bunch of 0/1 reds, and then a bunch of spells or creatures that give your creatures buffs. So now you have, oh, cool, now I have 2/3 kobolds, or 4/5 kobolds, or whatever, in terms of power and toughness. I think, if this is the right thing I'm thinking of, a friend did mention early on that, like, a way to play it would be there's creatures I think that are, I know they're in red. I think it was that will mimic targeting spells that allow you to like retarget. So it's like you have to target Rosnak or whatever here to get the Kobold trigger. But I think that's what it is. I think there's creatures that when you target that creature, you can then also copy that spell and target another creature you own. So the idea is you target these, like I think there was a handful of them and read like 3-4 different creatures that my friend rattled off to me, where it's like, it copies your spells when you're targeting that creature. So you play a bunch of buff spells that target XYZ creature. I apologize, I don't know the names, but it then copies that for all your other creatures or one specific creature, if not anything else. So then you target Rugrat. So it's like, you target this creature, it copies it, targets that, you make the 0/1 Kobold, and then all creatures have whatever buff, and you do it that way. So you get more mileage out of the targeting spells, and so you get more creatures, and you get more like cross buffs, because now other things can get the buffs that you're targeting, whatever. So that was an interesting take on it. Again, my friend only mentioned like 3 of those creatures. There might be more. And and I'm sure there's effects and maybe enchantments or sorceries that do that, where the sorcery says, all creatures you control I don't know, but you still have to target this for it to work because of the way the text is written. When you cast a spell, that targets it, so you have to be casting it. As I said, the other creatures are like when you target, XYZ, cast a copy of that target spell onto other, you know what I mean? So the wording does help. So it's kind of like 2 different ways you could build it. You could build it where it's just purely you're targeting the commander and going for commander damage, or you build it in that other fun way where it's like you target these other creatures that also allow you to target here, making the kobolds and getting lots of buffs, and then now you have a pretty sizable army that's getting some sort of buffs, and you can swing it. So that would be a fun way of doing that as well. What do you think? Those are our 3 commanders for today's episode. That's how I would approach these off the start, to build them if I was going to. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how the decks would end up, but that's my initial gut reactions on when looking at these commanders to try and build. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you would build them in different ways, or if you know cards that would like, that deck is fantastic with this card over here from whatever set. Otherwise, I will see you next time.